Forged in the crucible of the Industrial Revolution, the dark satanic mills of the Derwent Valley are now largely silent. But they are a World Heritage Site, and Strutt's North Mill in Belper is literally a towering achievement in the history of architecture.
Hey, good morning. You must be Trevor.
Yes, I'm Trevor.
Trevor Griffin, a volunteer guide, is going to introduce Natasha to the mill and the one-time owners, the Strutt family.
It all started with Jedediah in the middle of the 18th century, and he was a local wheelwright, but he was a very clever man, and he invented something called the Darby Rib that revolutionized the way that socks were manufactured at that time.
So what was the Darby Rib?
It would shape the socks to the leg rather than just being a tube, sort of Nora Batty type thing. So that basically was a big innovation, and of course then people realized he was worth investing in, and he did build lots of mills and things down in Derby. So
tell me about the Strutt's original mill, and what would life have been like for the workers there?
It had a timber frame, so it was crammed full of machines like the one we're standing in front of. They would have been very noisy, very hot, and there was always a risk of fire.
And then, of course, the timber frame mill burns down.
Yes, in 1803. And so William Strutt, who was Jedediah's son, had in his mind ideas to build a new fireproof mill. And that's what he did. He built this mill, which has got an iron frame, and it's the oldest iron frame building that you can still go into in the world.
Down in the basement, this seemingly unassuming building reveals its innovative construction of 2 centuries ago.
Where is the iron? Because all I see is stone all around me.
It's running here, look, between the tops of the pillars and all the way down the basement.
Ah, so that would have been wooden?
Originally, that would have been wood. All the older mills, and even some later ones, had wooden beams here.
So this was something that had never been done before? Was iron in short supply?
The problem was that you couldn't actually cast iron in very long sections until the beginning of the 19th century. So he was able to use that new technology in order to achieve the fireproof mill. I mean, this is something that would have been considered quite unusual at the time, and people who used to come to this area to visit places like Chatsworth would also call in at Strutt's North Mill to see this great technical innovation.
So there would have been tour guides like yourself working, what, 300 years ago?
Yes, there were, but it would have been the manager in those days.
Oh, I would imagine.
Princess Victoria came round, for example, in 1837.
Really?
Mr. Strutt showed her around personally, yeah.
That must have been his proudest moment.
Yes, it would have been. You can imagine that.
Fantastic. So this is truly a world first. I mean, that's not an exaggeration.
No, it isn't. Of course, from here you go on to skyscrapers eventually, modern building techniques.
Now, come on, is that a bit of a stretch? That without the Strutt's Mill, we wouldn't have the Manhattan skyline?
No, because this form of construction led on to modern building construction, steel frame buildings and so on. So yes, Manhattan is started here.
No Strutt, no Manhattan.
No Strutt, no Manhattan.
And what does every skyscraper need? An elevator. Strutt thought of that too.
So it's obviously powered by electricity today, but originally it was powered by water. And although it's a modern lift, it's still in the original shaft. So this is the oldest working lift shaft in a building anywhere in the world, and it's right here in Derbyshire.
So this is the oldest lift shaft in the world?
Yes, it is.
And all I have to do is press this button.
Press the button.
And call the elevator, and you're going to let me go in there on my own?
Yes, I am.
You sure?
Yes.
Okay, well, what can I say? It's been a pleasure meeting you.
Okay.
Thank you for such a great tour.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, oldest lift shaft in the world. Wish me luck.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye, Natasha.